Okay, I'm going to be making some, a type of meat pie, but not a Jamaican meat pie. I'm going to use the Jamaican meat pie recipe for the dough. But as far as the filling, I'm doing my own thing because I have a Boston butt that we smoked for New Year's that there's a good bit left and I need to do something with it. So this is what I'm coming up with. So I have 2 cups of flour in this bowl, and I'm adding a teaspoon of salt, which I'm using a Celtic sea salt, and yeah, that the black flecks in it is in the salt, so I'm not sure what it is. But it's really good salt that we love. And then I have a teaspoon of curry powder and a teaspoon of turmeric. So I'm just going to add that into my bowl. And then since I'm going to be using my hands anyways, which are clean, I have washed them, I'm going to just use my hands to mix these spices and salt into my flour. Okay. And then the next thing we have is a 1/2 cup of cold butter. And I have just cut it up into little squares. So I'm going to add that in. And this can be done in a food processor, but I like getting my hands into whatever I'm cooking. So, and then I'm just going to mix my butter into my flour with my hands. And I'm going to do this until the dough kind of resembles breadcrumbs. Like until it's all crumbly looking. And you want to kind of do it fast so that you don't melt your butter. Because you do not want your butter to start melting. And I'm going to get in with both hands. But I discovered Jamaican meat pies at the grocery store in the frozen section. And I love the crust. I mean, they're pretty good to be frozen from the grocery store. I've never had them any other way. But I love them and I love the crust. So I figured I wanted to try and make them. But this time I'm just doing the dough because like I said, I have all this pork in my fridge that I need to do something with. And this I can make it up and then freeze. I am going to cook up a couple of them tonight for dinner. But I can make them up and then freeze them for later to pull out for lunch or dinner or whatever. Okay, and I think this is about good. So this is what your flour should look like. It looks kind of bread crumbly. There's no big chunks of butter in it. It's not wet because my butter did not melt. And that's how that looks. Now I have a 1/2 cup of cold water that I'm going to gradually add in. I'm not going to add all of it at one time. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time and mix it in until we end up with a dough. And this smells really good. I guess I'm smelling the turmeric and the curry. But it smells amazing. Buddy, if you do not get your nose away. Does anyone else have a dog like this? When you're cooking, if they can reach the counter, they want to come up and see what you're doing. And this is starting to come together pretty nicely. I still got a little bit of water here. add in the last bit of my water. Okay, that might have been actually too much water. I got this recipe offline. Yeah, we're going to have to add in just a little bit of flour. I shouldn't have just poured in the rest of that water. I should have still done it a little bit gradually. That's okay though. We'll add in a little bit more flour just to soak up some of that water. This is my first time making this, and I do believe this is way too wet. So y'all are getting to see my mistake. Yeah, that's still way too wet. But the recipe I found online said half a cup of water. That's what I used. I've made doughs before, so I should have known better than to add all of the rest of that water at one time. Because now this is becoming a sticky mess. And I know that it should not be sticking to my hand like this. My goodness. That's okay. Let me put flour in this plate so I can keep just adding as I need it. And try and get some of the stickiness off my hands. There we go. Now we're starting to feel less sticky. So I shouldn't have to add much more. May not have to add any more flour, because now this is starting to feel a lot less sticky. It's still a little bit sticky on the inside, so I'm going to make sure that I get all of this flour that I had to add incorporated. I'm going to pull it out onto the counter, which is also clean. And just kind of knead the rest of this flour and bits into it. Just to make sure it's extremely all mixed up good. Okay, now I think that is good. I don't want to work it too much. Okay, I've just went and washed my hands and grabbed some saran wrap, and we are going to wrap this ball up. I'm going to wrap this dough, and this is going to go in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. And in just a minute, we will get started on the pork and the vegetables. Okay, for my filling, I have mushrooms here that I have wiped off with a clean paper towel. I have 2 poblano peppers, which I have cleaned, and then 1 onion. So I am just going to, this one still needs to be wiped off a little bit. I am just going to slice all of this. I'm going to leave my mushrooms fairly chunky because they cook down a little bit when they cook. And I don't want them to cook down to nothing. And I love mushrooms. And I want to actually taste them in this. So I don't want to cut them too small. And like I said, I'm just winging this. This is something I have never made before. It's just an idea I came up with to do with this leftover pork from New Year's that I figured would be good and last a little while, or stretch the pork. Be something different than just eating plain old pork every day, or barbecue pork sandwiches, or stuff stuff that you will eventually get tired of. Okay, I'm going to put these on a plate. That's my mushrooms. Now I am going to chop up my onion. Oh, this is a hard onion. There we go. That skin is ridiculous to get through. And I like to leave the hairy end of my onion on. It makes it easier to chop if I get through this joker. My goodness. I've never had an onion that tough. Yeah, it's the skin, definitely. That is a thick, thick skin. Ooh, it's a stout onion, too. And then I'm just going to dice this up. Not too thinly, but not too thick. If I can make it through it, because it's already burning my eyes. Whew. That is a stout onion. Oh, I'm trying to keep my eyes open. They over here almost in tears. Whew. That's how I diced my onion up, and it's got some little bits of mushrooms in it. That's okay, though. They're all going in the same pan. Alright, now we are going to do our poblano. And that's how I like to cut it off. That way all the ribs and stuff stay inside here. This smells kind of stout too. If you never had a poblano, it's the next best thing to a bell pepper. Bell peppers do not sit on my husband's stomach good. So I discovered poblano peppers and decided to give them a try. So for any recipe that calls for a bell pepper, I will use a poblano pepper. And it's actually the perfect little substitute. They're not spicy. I wear gloves when I work with them because for some reason the juice from them does make my skin burn just a little bit and irritates my skin. So I do wear gloves when I work with them. But I have a lot of skin allergy problems, so that's probably just a me skin allergy problem. This is a juicy poblano. But I'm not dicing this up any certain way. I'm just doing it into decent sized chunks. Because like I said, when I cook my veggies, I don't want them so small that they mush up. I want them to hold their shape. And I want to be able to tell the different textures in this. Alright, one more. And I got two because I've got a good amount of pork. So I wanted to make sure that I have enough poblano to go with the onions and everything else. Well, that made a whole mess. Just trying to avoid having to clean the seeds up off my cutting board. Okay, all the seeds are cleaned up. And I'm just putting all my garbage over here on the produce bag. And I'm not a chef, so no, I don't have perfect knife skills. I just have the knife skills that I have pretty much taught myself over the years. And they have worked. I've never cut myself, knock on wood. And that is all of my poblano peppers cut up. And this is the pork we have left over that my husband smoked for New Year's. So I am just going to dice it up too. Slide this over so I can put what I've diced back in here. That's just Randy and Noah. Had the mail ran?
I don't know, I didn't check it.
You didn't look to see if there's any flags up.
Get down!
Is that your sandwich from work
Do
today?
you mind? Yeah.
Did you make it yourself?
Yeah.
It's nice getting ready, being able to make your own, ain't it?
It's gonna ruin Subway for me whenever I'm not at Subway though.
Yeah, because you're going to want to make it yourself.
I'd be like, hey, let me get behind that counter.
Shit, when I worked at Subway when you was a baby, if I went in there to eat, like me and your dad, I would go behind the counter and make my own.
Yeah.
But our Subway was a little more lenient because it was owned by just one person.
Why are you biting at my sweater, Daisy?
Y'all came in right in the middle of my video. What'd you make?
Pepperoni, spicy sauce, jalapeno, black olive, and lettuce, and banana pepper.
Alright.
Tomorrow I'm going to try fish chips.
I used to love to make salads, tuna salads, but I know you're not a tuna eater. I've seen that look you gave me.
This woman came in. Apparently she just comes there a lot. You want to know what she ordered?
What?
Tuna on flatbread with pickles. That was it. She comes here like every day and gets that same sandwich.
You'll have daily customers like that. You'll have regulars that you'll get to notice, and when they come in, you'll know what kind of sandwich they're going to want. You'll memorize their order. We didn't have many usuals like that because it was a truck stop. So a lot of ours was truckers. We had a few truckers that were normals, but it wasn't like an everyday normal. It was just when they're driving through.
Yeah. Look at Daisy.
Lord, this is an arm workout.
You can just get unlimited drinks working there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
What'd you do? Just fill your drink up once?
I was thirsty. The lady was telling me that, and I was like, oh, I wish I knew that 3 hours ago when I started getting thirsty.
And this is how the pork is cut up. Just minced into small pieces. And next we will cook this up and then get ready to assemble. I will be voiceover in this section because my son came in and wanted to watch TV, so I told him to go ahead. So I have my oil heated up in the pan. I'm just going to add my poblanos, add my onions. Try to get all of them off that paper plate. If you can hear the dogs in the background barking, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what they are barking at. And then I'm going to add my mushrooms to it. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And I've just got my stove eye on about a 6. And then I'm going to stir everything around to just get it cooking good. And this is going to cook for, I want to say about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm not going to let all of it play through while it's cooking because that's not enjoyable to watch. Just, you know, it's sitting there in a pan. So we will be back when the vegetables are just about ready. Okay, now the vegetables have pretty much cooked down enough. So I'm going to add the chopped up pork into it. I'm just stirring it all around to mix the pork and the vegetables all together. You don't want more vegetables in one section than you have pork, and vice versa. You want to make sure that it's really good and incorporated and mixed together. And this smelled pretty good just as it was, before I even added any other seasonings or anything. Like, you could still really smell the smoke, the smokiness from the pork where it had been smoked. And I think this mixture would go really good on some tortillas. Now I'm adding in a tangy adobo spice that I bought at the store. And that spice smelled really good too. And then half a cup of water. And then just stirring it all together again, just to get everything good and mixed up together. And then this is going to cook for probably about 10 more minutes. You don't have to cook it very long. You just want the liquid that you had added in to kind of absorb into your meat and, you know, do its thing to make sure everything's really good and seasoned. And as it was cooking, I did stir it several times throughout the cooking process. And we will be back when this is done. Okay, now I'm just going to add some cheese into this. And stir it in. I think I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the bag. And this meat mixture has now cooled off, so we'll be able to work with it. Okay, so that's my mixture. I have a sheet pan here that I'm going to flour, because this is what I'm going to sit my meat pies on as I get them made. I'm going to flour my kitchen table, which is clean. This is where I'm going to roll my dough out. I'm going to point y'all down just a little bit so you can see the table a little bit better. I'm going to cut this dough in half and work with half at a time. And then I'm going to wrap the other half up. Wrap the other half back up while I'm working with this half. Going to flour this and the top of my dough. And I'm just going to roll this out. I'm working on my kitchen table, that way I just have more surface to work. More surface area. Because this is going to be rolled out pretty thin. Be great if it would quit sliding around on me. over. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. I just want to keep rotating it to make sure it's not sticking to the table or anything. Okay, I'm going to take this bowl. I'm going to make fairly big meat pies. Maybe, is this bowl even going to work? Yeah. Looks like I'm going to get 4 out of this bit. Set that over there because we will roll that out again. Then I'm going to take them. Gotta get me a spoon. Then I'm going to take this. Put some meat mixture in there. And then fold it over. Pinch it together. Okay, I'm going to sit it on the table. So I'm going to have to get a fork. Okay. Sit on this pan so I can show you. But I'm going to take my fork and do this. Crimp it like that. And it closes up. And that is what we got. So I'm going to finish putting all these together and then I will show you the finished product. And this is what I ended up with. I ended up with 14 altogether. These I'm going to pop in the freezer to let them start freezing. And then I'll put them in bags to keep them longer. And then these I am going to cook for dinner. I'm going to put them in the oven at 375 for 20 to 25 minutes until they're done. And I'll show you how those look when they come out. And this is the mess I have to clean up now. This was not an easy task. And I still have some meat left over here. And I think I will also pop that in a freezer bag and freeze it to do something with later.
Everything okay?
Okay, this is my finished plate. I just have some roasted broccoli that I made, some homemade pierogies, and I will have a video out on those soon. And then this is my meat pie. It kind of busted open a little bit on me, and I cracked it on the top, but that's okay. We're still going to taste it. It's not the prettiest, but it smells and looks good.
Sheldon, do you really think this is the appropriate time to ask that question?
I did, but now I'm second guessing myself.
It's actually really good. There's how it looks. On the inside, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm going to go eat dinner because it's 8:15 now and I am starving. And if you liked my video, then consider like, commenting, subscribing. I will have more cooking videos out. I'm probably going to do some nail videos too if you want to see how I do my nails. And I will see everyone in the next one. Until then, bye.